Hello, this is Sky. Today I would like to talk about manifestation, timelines, and time travel. Because the energies right now are extremely malleable since we're in this transformative process right now. So I think that maybe hopefully everybody knows that everything is energy vibrating in different speed. So the higher the vibration, the more flexible the energy, and the denser the vibration, the lower the vibration, the more dense it becomes. And so that's the um, going down from um, thought form into matter. And matter is a very dense form of energy, and thought is a very um, light and high vibrating form of energy. And our thoughts and our feelings are creative powers that can manifest and do manifest all the time. So my star people have recently told me or reminded me that I can go into everything, every form of matter and every form in general, and change it with my thoughts and feelings. Now that means that basically we can move objects with our thoughts. We can walk through walls. That's kind of like the ultimate consequence of this when we follow it down. But of course, there's some path we have to walk towards it. And the first thing that is very important to understand in this is that everything around me is me. That sounds pretty out there, but this is the principle that all of this is working upon. And that means that I am part of everything and everything is part of me. That is very important to understand for different reasons. So, first of all, if I understand that I am everything, then also my will has an effect on something outside of me, something like an object, for example. So I cannot move an object unless with my thoughts, unless I understand that that object is me, and that my thoughts and my will can move that object just like as I can move my arm, you know. Now, that also means that obviously, you know, I would not want to harm myself. I kind of assume that. So if I understand that I am part of everything and everything is part of me, that means that whatever I do to something, you know, outside of my own body or whatever is around me, which is also me, that means that I am doing something to myself. So whatever I do to anything outside of myself is something that I do to myself. That is a very principal understanding of this whole thing. Because right now we're moving into times where we are finding more and more back to our roles as creators. Um, but if we create without the knowledge of what that actually means, then we can create a lot of havoc. And if we don't create responsibly, then there's going to be a lot of chaos, which there already is, which is the consequence of what we have been doing for a very long time. So my star people told me that right now we're moving in times where those that create chaos, the force that is given to those creating chaos is getting less and less, because in order to create, it's very important to understand your responsibility as creator, and your responsibility towards everything that looks like it's outside of us, but it's actually you. I hope that makes sense. So let me repeat that. To understand your responsibility for everything outside of you, which is actually also part of you. So we can imagine that like playing in an orchestra. So everybody plays an instrument in a big orchestra and playing a symphony. Now, if everybody is kind of completely lost in the beauty of their own creation and just like, playing away, and it's all so wonderful, and I am so great, and so wonderful how my instrument sounds, and I want to play this and I want to play that, and I have the feeling that right now I want to play this, and it's actually not at all part of the symphony or of the musical segment that's taking place at the moment. So the result of that is it's not going to be a very nice symphony. It's going to be, oh, you want to kind of hold your ears, and this is what happens when we're completely absorbed in our own little world and we don't take heed of anything that's outside of us, and we just see ourselves. And that also means that whatever we create only for ourselves and our own pleasure is never on the long run going to make us happy, because if it doesn't make everybody else happy also, on a higher level, then it doesn't make us happy either on the long run. We're going into a dead-end street. It doesn't have the potential to go higher and higher and higher and evolve. It's eventually going to fall back into itself. Excuse me. And so when we have a wish, for example, my star people explained to me that when we have a wish, that means that there is already a reality where this wish is has become true. And that is the reason why we have that wish, because we perceive that reality. If it wasn't already a reality, we wouldn't be able to perceive it. And the bridge between this wish of mine and the reality that I can grasp, that is there around me, is the knowing that this wish has already become reality. that is the bridge between the wish and the manifestation of the wish. Now, that means that we are following this wish up with consciousness. Whatever we do consciously increases its power. And being conscious also means to keep the focus. So if we have a wish and we know, we are conscious of the fact that this wish is already a reality, then this is the way to to bring it about. But there's one thing that's very important to consider in this process, and that is to align ourselves with the good of the whole. And that means that our wish can evolve in a way that we have not been able to understand in its entirety. So when we know that this wish has already become a reality, then we do not know the exact time, we do not know the exact way there. We just know that it already is a reality. And my star people explained to me that the interaction between this reality that's already there and me receiving this wish is the divine principle. Because I am the receiver of a reality when I have a wish. It is not just something that's generated inside of me, but it's I am the receiver of this reality in that moment. And to completely relax and trust that this wish is a reality and that it comes about in the best possible way for me and everybody else is the alignment with the divine principle of which we are all part of. And that is a very important link in the picture, because there's a lot of let's say misunderstanding around this whole law of attraction thing that's being distributed everywhere, where people say, oh, you can create everything you want, you can create your dream house with a swimming pool and your perfect partner and your luxury car and I don't know what. And if that was so easy, how everybody makes, or how some people make it sound, then we sometimes wonder why isn't it working like that? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And why doesn't it always work? What am I doing wrong? And the thing is that what this is leaving out of the picture when you say, oh, you can create just anything that you want, is that the way that it is created needs us to completely align with this divine principle. And kind of to put ourselves in its arms, so to speak, like a child in the arms of a parent, because we do not have the complete knowledge of the entire symphony, so to speak. If we go back to our analogy with the orchestra, we 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 don't know every little detail of how this wish is going to come about, or when this wish is going to come about. We cannot fathom it and we cannot construct it. But it is important to know that this divine principle is always working for our highest good, and that means that we are in a continuous process of evolving. And this evolving is taking us to heights that at the point where we are, when we have that wish, we cannot even perceive, because we're not there yet. It is part of our unfolding process, like a flower is unfolding its petals in the sunlight. So now we're going into this concept of timelines, which I find problematic, because I've said that somewhere else, that I think it's strange analogy to think of time as a line, because time is never a line. And this is a misconception that we have had for a very long time, let's say. And if we are opening up to greater realities and we speak of timelines, then this is kind of dragging a very profound misunderstanding into this opening up of a greater reality. But anyway, so I'm going to use this word as communication tool in order to say what I want to say, or explain what I want to explain. So let's say we have that wish, and that means that the wish has already become reality. Now we also have a fear. That fear is also already a reality somewhere. And if these two interfere, the wish as a reality, and maybe then the fear that this wish will never become a reality, then these are kind of like two different timelines, let's say. And it depends on our focus where we end up. And my star people explained to me that there's always a gentle force that will guide the soul towards the higher reality and away from the fear scenario. But still, I have the free will to align with whatever I choose. And with every second, I have a new opportunity of choosing my focus. So that means that every second we have an infinite number of realities, or an infinite number of probabilities or timelines that we can choose from. And that's why time is never a line, because every second we have that choice. We have the power to choose every second. So this is why it cannot be a line. And it needs our focus in order to mm, get to the destination that we envision. Now, focus here is a very important element in this whole thing, because our focus is concentration, our focus is consciousness. And since everything that we do with consciousness attains a lot of power, a lot of impact, not power, impact. That means that being conscious and being focused is going to create the highest impact. And we are currently oftentimes so scattered in our minds and in our thoughts and in what we assume that there's not a lot of focus there. And the result of that is that we also get a pretty blurred outcome. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah. And the more we keep our focus, all the while we align with the divine principle and trust in the divine principle, we will see this reality. And I say align and trust in the divine principle because aligning with the divine principle means to know how this divine principle works. This divine principle, which you can call nature or God or life force, or I don't know, whatever you please. I always try to get away a little bit from the word God, because God has been so misunderstood and misinterpreted in the past and is still being done. So I don't want to direct people's attention towards all this misunderstanding that's happened or is happening. So if we know how this divine principle, the divine works, then we align with it, and then we are in direct expression of it. And the more we align with it, the more we are in direct expression of it, because we are an expression of this divinity or of this divine principle, the more, on the long run, we will also be able to perceive a larger part of the whole and not just our small little reality. So we will understand more and more of what is needed or what is happening around us, but only because we have opened up ourselves so much for this divine principle that it's working right through us. And to really open up to this divine principle means that we ourselves, in what we define ourselves by, is getting more and more into the background and is letting more and more of this force in, which is a kind of bliss that is hard to describe, actually impossible to describe. Because it is just pure love and love and bliss. Sounds a little kitsch, but that's what it is. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience of a situation of that kind. I mean, I can remember myself, the first experience that I had of that was when I was walking in the park as a teenager, and it was in a time where I really connected with God or with the divine and with Jesus, and I was I felt like I was hovering above the ground. I didn't even touch the ground. It was just filled with so much happiness and so much gratitude and so much, mm, yeah, like ecstasy, I would say, that it did not have an immediate reason. It wasn't like something had just happened that was so amazing. It was just this feeling of yeah, just yeah, bliss. It was bliss. So this is the highest feeling of joy that we can imagine. And if you know what that feels like, you know that you wouldn't want anything else, because it just supersedes everything that we can imagine. Um, when we have our ego oriented goals. Because eventually, what we want when we wish for something is that we want to be happy. We don't want the thing, but we want to feel the way we would feel, that we think we would feel if we have that thing, if we had that thing. So, yeah, just to come back to the timelines. So, every second of my life is a point of choice, of focus. Where do we focus? And so, what my star people also explained to me concerning time travel is that when we have a destination point, or no, not like an anchor, sorry, not a destination point, an anchor in time, and we hook onto that anchor point. Let's say I'm thinking of a particular point in my past, and I have the anchor point in my past, and I completely focus when I go into my memory of that and I keep that focus when I am there, and that and I know that I am there, because this is what we can do, which brings us back to doing something with consciousness, right? By knowing that this is what I can do when I go into that anchor point and keep my focus, that is traveling in time. Because if I keep my focus and I know that I'm there, then things will unfold in this journey that I'm taking. But that means I need to keep the focus and know that I'm there. It's all kind of part of visualization. When we visualize something and we keep the focus, that means that we are creating it, and we are traveling in the different realities that coexist simultaneously. So this is going into multidimensionality. And the infinite number of timelines or probabilities or realities that coexist at the same time. And the way that we can travel and move in these different realities is our focus. And they told me that because I asked, okay, do I always need the anchor point? Like, for example, what do I do when I envision something in the future that I don't even know, what that is or whatever. And they said to me that right now, at the stage that we are at, we still need the anchor point to time travel. We need to have a point where we land, kind of thing, or we start out from that we know. um, so, mm, when we get further in our development, we're not going to need that anymore. But right now, we still need that. So, if I take this into the future, for example, if I'm thinking of something in the future, since our thoughts and our feelings create, I can create a focus point in the future and then travel there and travel in the future when I keep my focus there. So we have an incredible creative force at our fingertips that is based on our thoughts and our feelings. And to close this up, I want to stress again that this is a tremendous responsibility that we need to be aware of. And the stronger we become in our focus and the more conscious we become, the more responsibility that we have, because the more conscious we become, the more impact our thoughts and feelings have on our surroundings and eventually also on ourselves. And that's why it's so incredibly important to align ourselves with the whole, with the divine principle. And this divine principle is the creative force that goes through everything and that is directed by a harmonizing, healing influence or principle again. It's like, the conductor in the symphony. When we play an instrument in the symphony, we always look at the conductor to keep the rhythm, to stay in line with all the other musicians. And this is aligning ourselves with this power of creation that we are a part of, we are an expression of, and that drives us and everything else. I hope that wasn't too complicated, the way I explained that. Anyway, so that's it for today, and I wish you a beautiful rest of the day. Bye.